I was working the night shift at Sunset Manor retirement home when she showed up in a soaking wet dress at 2 a.m. Margaret, probably mid-70s, stood in our lobby dripping water onto the marble floor like she'd just crawled out of a swimming pool. "I'm here for my anniversary dinner with Thomas," she announced, smoothing down her wet hair with trembling hands. "Room 47. He's expecting me." The problem was Thomas had been dead for 3 months. I'd worked security here for 2 years and remembered his funeral clearly. Margaret had been inconsolable, throwing herself onto his casket. "Ma'am, visiting hours ended at 9 p.m., I said gently, but she was already walking past me. Her heels squished with each step, leaving muddy puddles on the pristine carpet our cleaning crew had just finished. She moved with purpose, like she'd walked these halls 1,000 times. I followed her, my radio crackling with static. "Security to front desk. We have a situation in the East Wing." Margaret stopped at room 47 and knocked 3 times. "Tommy, I'm here for dinner, just like we planned. You said 7 p.m. every Friday, remember?" The current resident, Mr. Peterson, opened his door confused. He was wearing pajamas and looked annoyed at being woken up. Margaret stared at him for a long moment, her face cycling through confusion, anger, then devastating sadness. "Where's Thomas?" she whispered. "This is his room. We have reservations." That's when I noticed her clothes weren't just wet, they were completely soaked through. Her floral dress clung to her frame, and water was literally dripping from her sleeves onto the carpet. But it hadn't rained in 5 days. The weather had been perfect all week. Mr. Peterson looked at me helplessly. "Should I call someone?" I was already dialing the emergency contact number from our system. "This is Margaret Thompson, right? I'm calling her daughter." 20 minutes later, a woman in her 50s rushed through our doors, still in her pajamas. "Mom, we've been looking everywhere for you." She hugged Margaret, not caring that she was getting soaked. "You scared us to death." Margaret pulled back, looking genuinely confused. "Sarah, what are you doing here?" "Tommy and I have dinner reservations. We do every Friday at 7 p.m., just like when we were young." The daughter's eyes filled with tears. "Mom, Dad's gone, remember? We buried him 3 months ago. You spoke at his funeral." Margaret shook her head violently. "No, that's not right. He's waiting for me. He promised we'd never miss our Friday dinners." Sarah pulled me aside, speaking in hushed tones. "She's been doing this for weeks, disappearing for hours every Friday night, coming back completely soaked. We have no idea where she goes. We've searched everywhere. Pools, the lake, neighbors' houses. She just vanishes." I studied Margaret, who was now sitting in one of our lobby chairs, staring at her wet hands. "Has she always been like this? The confusion? It started right after Dad died. The doctors say it's grief-induced dementia, but this is different. She's perfectly fine all week. Then Friday comes and she becomes obsessed with their dinner date." That's when Mr. Peterson spoke up from behind us. "There's a woman who sits by the pond behind the building every Friday night around 7 p.m. I see her from my window. She talks to someone who isn't there, sets out 2 paper plates like she's having a picnic." Sarah and I exchanged glances. "Show us," I said. We walked through the back exit, Margaret following slowly behind us. The pond was about 50 yards from the building, surrounded by benches and willow trees. It was peaceful during the day, but at night it looked almost otherworldly with the moonlight reflecting off the dark water. There, perfectly folded on the bench closest to the water's edge, were Margaret's dry clothes. A floral blouse, khaki pants, underwear, and shoes, everything neatly stacked like she'd prepared for a swim. Sarah gasped and covered her mouth. "Oh my God, Mom, you've been going into the water?" Margaret smiled for the first time that night. "Thomas loves the water. He said when we're old, we'll have dinner by the lake every Friday, just the 2 of us. No kids, no distractions, just us." I looked at the depth markers on the pond. It was 8 feet deep in the center. "How long has she been swimming?" I asked Sarah, trying to keep my voice steady. "She was on the swim team in college," Sarah whispered. "Even at 75, she's stronger in water than most people half her age." The pieces clicked into place. Margaret wasn't just talking to empty air during her Friday visits. She's been having dinner with Dad underwater. Sarah just nodded and helped Margaret to the car.